What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the 2024 Blaze Radio Masters preview show. Ben Parris, Bobby Blue, Ryan Sykora on hand for Blaze Radio. We don't have a
Yeah,
name yet. The only thing that matters right now is that it's Masters Week, and this should be the start of something special for us, but also it's the
yeah.
best part of the year.
I can't believe you got your hat on, Ben. You rocking the big cat shirt, the Masters hat. You're everywhere all over the board today.
I mean, this is the week. This is the week to do it. You know, you can really wear an Augusta
That's
hat
so
every
true.
week out of the year. I'm not trying to wear a Phoenix Open hat all year. I wear it, in February, but this is my week where I don't have to take it off. So
Yeah,
I'm wearing it with
can we
pride.
get a backstory? Like, because obviously Masters stuff only comes from Augusta. Did you buy it off someone or did you go? Like, you gotta know.
So my first Masters hat came from eBay. I got like a
Oh,
$35 Masters hat. This isn't it though. This isn't it. It came from the club though. It was that there's a special like tag on the inside, but my high school economics teacher, my senior year, is like it's like great uncle, someone like some like distant relative, is a former champion. So their family gets tickets every single year. And my senior year of high school, he said he was going to the Masters. I asked him to grab me something. He came back to class on Monday and brought me a hat. I sent him the Venmo, and here it is. So shout out
yeah.
David Knockwell.
Wow, I wasn't expecting so much of a story, to be honest.
I don't have anything that big.
So I don't even know who the winner is. I don't know who he's related to,
Yeah,
but it's I'll take it what I can get. Hopefully, I'll end up there someday
yeah.
myself.
Interesting. Uh,
I don't know. He's not related to Roy McIlroy. That's all I know.
can't be.
That's
Can't
for
be.
sure.
It's
Let's hop into Go. Yeah, let's hop into the show. It's a we every year brings something different. It seems like to Augusta. In the last few years, it's been about the division in golf. We've been talking about it throughout the PGA Tour season. We've watched some live as well. It seems like the guys are kind of over it, and that the four major championships, and we saw it kind of with the back half of the PGA and the U.S. Open last year, and now as we get ready for a new year of majors, seems like the guys are kind of over talking about it, and everybody is kind of truly happy to be together, and there's no better
yeah,
place to be
and
than Augusta.
Yeah.
I feel like
Go
a
ahead, Ben.
lot of what you said is true, and I feel like all the guys that do still make that noise aren't here. You look at the live players who are here, right? John Rahm, Brooks Koepka. Neiman's a little bit of an outlier because Neiman's like not he doesn't speak up as much. But like you look at Rahm and Brooks, like and even Phil, like those are multi-time major winners. Like they're here to win. Like they're done. I don't know if you caught Rahm's comments coming into this week, but kind of seems like Liv isn't necessarily hitting his spot right now. So I think he's really excited to play 72 holes again. I know, obviously, the money is money, right? Like, Rom definitely doesn't regret his decision, I'd assume, but, I'm sure he's definitely excited to get back into, the highest level of golf, and that is the major championships. That's what makes him great. Obviously, there is an asterisk because Gooch isn't here, but oh well. um, oh well, boo hoo.
I think the biggest thing, right, that I've taken away from this week, and you get your Tuesday Masters dinner photo that comes out, and everybody's a lot less separated in 2024 than it was in 23 and 22. You've got your live guys mixing it up, and I think honestly a lot of John's decision to make that move helped it a lot on the European side because you got the immediate reaction from Rory a while back of saying, well, he's going to be there in 25, so we better start to figure something out. You got Brooks playing a year ago in Italy. So it's a little more merged. I thought, really quickly to sidetrack to Rom's comments, I thought him saying, like, hey, we want to play 72-hole tournaments, or I want to play 72-hole tournaments, was really telling because I think that's a guy who wants his world ranking points and wants to secure his place at the one place that everybody wants to be, which is the majors, and more importantly, the other three, because he gets to play here the rest of his life. But from that perspective, it doesn't matter as much to me anymore, right? Especially with the special exemptions, the special offerings to get a guy like Joaquin Neiman here. And, to the Taylor Gooch joke, like, he's still playing well. Like, that's the fascinating thing. Like, Ben says we're kind of watching Liv. I'm watching Liv's leaderboards every week because it fascinates me, and I'm honestly watching it when I can because it's good golf. And Taylor's playing well, but Joaquin goes to the Asian Tour and plays good golf and wins a couple times. And that's why he's here, and I think he's probably, for me, one of the top 5 guys, right? You're watching every shot that Joaquin Neiman plays this week because you want to see if it translates to a guy who was previously not perceived as... Like, we knew Rahm would win. We knew Rahm would show. We didn't necessarily know Joaquin Neiman was this special top 5 player in the world.
And you're also looking at someone like Neiman, who almost has some inherited pressure now on the week, right? Like, he almost has to prove for Taylor Gooch that those guys belong, right? Because Neiman didn't get into the Masters. He had to get that special exemption. And even though I fully believe it was deserved, he almost has that entire pressure on him. Like, let's say he just has a poor week, goes out, craps himself, and misses the cut. Like, that's going to be a talking point next year when they're looking to give to that next guy on Liv who's playing really well. And I feel like that Gooch debate, I feel like Neiman's performance this week holds a lot of weight.
And the fact of the matter is, right, the Liv TV numbers aren't great. The PGA Tour numbers on TV this season are down already as it is. These 4 weeks out of the year, and obviously it starts now, is where Liv is really under the microscope for the greater golf community. Hey, can these guys still compete? And it showed at some of the majors last year, obviously with Koepka winning one of them, and now Jon Rahm, who's on the Liv Tour. Yeah, these guys can compete. But the thing is, it is just so interesting. And that's why the winner in all of this is the majors. We've said it since the beginning of the split up, and we'll say it until they come back together. The majors are the winners, but at the same time, I think there is a bit of that added pressure for those Liv players, right? Jon Rahm got asked today, do you think on property you're seen more as a Liv player or a Masters champion? It says for him, it seems like it's a Masters champion, but the fact of the matter is, you walk in and you're wearing Legion 13 stuff, it's hard not to think of him about the
and you looked last year and Brooks didn't wear his team. I don't know what the plans are this year. Obviously Phil did, as he made that big putt on 18 with the High Flyers gear on. But you look at the leaderboard last year, including Rahm, who is now on Liv Tour. You have 4 in the top 4 between Reed, Mickelson, Rahm, and Koepka that are on the Liv Tour. And at this point, it's silly to say, right? Like, I would not consider myself pro-Liv by any means. I like tuning in every here and there. I think that there is positives to the product, but I wouldn't say it's my go-to. I wouldn't say it's my cup of tea on a Sunday. I'd probably rather watch the PGA Tour, obviously depending on the leaderboards, but it's silly now to say that it's an exhibition, right? Like, it's silly at this point. Like, it's almost split 50-50 now as to where the top best players of the world are. Obviously, the PGA Tour has more depth, but it's silly now to say that Liv guys can't compete. I mean, Liv guys won 2, unless I'm blanking, half of the majors last year. So it's gotten to the point where we've moved past that exhibition talk.
Yeah, I think, honestly, for me, the biggest point here, though, is that, John is the guy now carrying the flag. And wearing the Legion 13 gear is certainly a statement from that because he still has a lot of his stuff. Brooks didn't wear it because Brooks has his Nike stuff intact because he's Brooks Koepka. He's above all of that. And that's what Liv kind of is attracted with Rahm. He's above all of that. He's a Masters champ. You going after they've got 7 dudes in the field that are Masters champs. And that's kind of the cool thing that I look at in terms of the majors, like Ben said. It's this coming together. It is genuinely just this rise to the top that the majors have always kind of been, before it was the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour and then all the best amateurs from around the world. And now it's A couple of guys from the DP. Ryo Hisatsune gets an offer from the Japan Tour after playing well for a long time there. And then you've got your live guys coming in, and now you've got your amateurs, and it truly is an 88-person field this week that is the most deserving individuals on planet Earth. And that's why the Masters is the best, because it's a subtle, small field that's the best of the best. It's not the PGA where it's the top 100 plus other dudes. It's not the U.S. Open, which can sometimes be a crapshoot where players like Sergio Garcia have to try and, go out and qualify. It's not the same with the British Open. So it's why Augusta's the best. It's because you get a small, funneled field of the absolute elite, and why the favorites are, so popular. Like, you've got your Scotties, you've got your Xanders, you've got your Rorys, your Rahms, your Victors, who hasn't played that well this year. You've got even go down to past champs like Hideki Matsuyama and even throw in Niemann's. It's some of the best, and it's the first time we get to see all these guys in golf in 2024.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And speaking to Niemann, I guess we can kind of make our way into just the field here this week. I think that the field is, again, it's almost like the majors mean more now that it's fun that we get to see all those guys that we don't get to see together all the time. And as I was speaking to Niemann's pressure on this week, Niemann's got a lot of work to do. Obviously, it's a tough sample because Niemann is obviously playing much better golf right now than he ever has in his life by a large margin. But Niemann's course history here is rough, I believe. I believe besides one top 15, it's been pretty poor. So we'll see. This is the biggest course history reflecting, so to say, I don't know how to put it, but course history reflects here more than any other course on tour. So it will be interesting to see how Niemann kind of finds that spot. I think Niemann's just playing good enough golf right now where he probably can just finish top 20 based on how he's playing. Like, you can do that. You can't necessarily win without playing the course well, but you can definitely finish top 20. But I think, would you guys consider him a favorite this week? Or would you put him in that next tier? Not necessarily by odds, but
I would say yes. I think he's 2,500 right now, plus 2,500. He's 7th in the world in data golf. He's one of the best approach players in the world right now, and especially with those mid irons and with how long Augusta can tend to play. Like, you got to hit your 6 irons and your 7 irons pretty strongly, and you got to find the center of the green because of how easily sloping, how quick the slope is, and how kind of the contours of the greens work at Augusta National. You got to find the center of the green. I think he's one of the best in the world at that right now. At that, he struggles at times when he does miss the green, though, and he struggles off the tee occasionally, right? And this is a place for, if you struggle off the tee and you're not that accurate as a righty, it can get kind of tricky. So he's got to be solid off the tee. He's got to let his iron play do the work. But he's a favorite. He's one of the 10 guys that I would say are the first 10 names that come out of my mouth when discussing what it looks like and who I could see putting on a green jacket and getting their size.
I kind of disagree to an extent. See, but I agree that he's one of those top 10 guys. When I think favorites, though, I don't necessarily think 10 guys, to be honest. I'm thinking, when I think favorites this week, I think Rahm, Rory, as much as I hate to say it.
That's generous. I think that's generous.
Rahm, Rory, and then obviously Scottie Scheffler. Scottie Scheffler is my pick to win this week. I think it'll be as chalk as we've seen. I mean, we were due for a chalk March Madness. We got it. We're going to get there's a point this week where Scott Scheffler can win by more shots mathematically than anyone else in the field physically can do. If Scott Scheffler has everything going together this week, it could be over Saturday night, which I don't think we could have said about a guy in recent memory. So since Tiger, essentially, I don't even think you could say that about Spieth, just because a lot of at the top of his powers was putting related. So yeah, I'm thinking, when I think favorites, I'm thinking 4 guys. I'd even throw maybe Hideki in there. I think Hideki's got the fourth best odds on Data Golf. I think he's got the fourth best chance. And Xander. So those five I'm considering the favorites. I wouldn't really consider. I think Neiman's in that next group of the Brooks Koepkas and I think Neiman's rightfully there. I think he deserves to be there for sure.
And I agree. Ryan said 10 guys, and I think Neiman
Absolutely.
is in that. When you talk about your favorite five, I don't think he's in that. And honestly, and I don't think it's like this most years, when I think of favorites, I really can only think of Scotty
It's
Scheffler,
very fair.
almost to the point I've been thinking about it for a week, almost to the point where this might be his tournament to lose. I don't know if there's anywhere else. It's kind of like you have your one favorite, you might have a drop off for the next four guys and then the five after that. But I think he's such the clear favorite that if anyone else pulls it off, it's almost going to be remarkable because he hits the golf ball so well. And if he can get it to the right areas on greens, and which he was able to at the Players pretty well. He had the neck thing, missed some greens on Sunday. But the thing is, if he can get it on the green and just putt basically average, just be an average putter, he's going to have it in the bag.
Which he has been. He has been an average putter, and he is a half a stroke better per round than Xander Schauffele, who's the second best player in the world according to Data Golf. So he's getting 2 strokes a tournament against the second best player in the world. That's the average. I think on TUGR he's getting seven tenths of a stroke a round, almost 3 strokes a tournament. Like, it is ridiculous how far and away he is lapping the field. You're right? It depends on how you want to see favorites. If you see it as a top 5, that's fine. I think in a tournament like the Masters, and majors in general, where your margins are thinner, I think you can open
That's
up
fair.
the door for a top 10. But I do think, if you're looking at a top 5, I would say Scotty, I would say Xander, I would say Rahm, I would say Rory, despite the demons. And I would honestly say someone like Pat Cantlay, who I think is hummed around, is just unsexy, very unsexy. But I think
So boring, just so
Yeah.
boring.
he plays historically kind of well here. He hasn't necessarily had the best year. He obviously had a great stretch that kind of has tumbled apart recently. And then again, Hideki's a great pick because, again, I think he's second or third this year in strokes gained tee to green, which is the ultimate stat if you want to look at it from a numbers perspective for Augusta National. If you are tee to green, great, which is, again, 75% of the game, so it's a lot of it. But if you're tee to green, fantastic. You're going to play well at Augusta National. He's already got a green jacket. I could see him showing up, but he wouldn't be, I wouldn't have him above the big four of Scotty, Schauffele, McIlroy, and Rahm at all. I think there's a gap of those four, and there's like a group of 7.
I think Ben actually made a good point. I feel like you could make the argument that when favorite is literally just Scotty Scheffler. I mean, the field is minus 700. You've never seen the field against someone in the triple digit minus hundreds. That's unheard of. Besides Tiger, and I tweeted this out, right? I wasn't old enough to get to see Tiger in his prime, and as much of a Spieth fan as I am, Scotty Scheffler is the best golfer I have ever seen with my own eyes. I've seen him do things that I've like. This is what I imagine people talking about Tiger like.
Except it's bigger.
Well, I can't really put Tiger into perspective because apparently he was just I can look at the stats, but I didn't get to see it with my own eyes. And I'm looking at the odds. I'm I feel like so Rory's the second best. I'm just looking at DraftKings right now, but so Rory's got the second best odds, 11-1 right now, and I'm like, is it really that small a difference between him and Rory? I think it's even bigger.
At this stage, I would agree. I mean, Rory has not played particularly well coming into the event by his standards, right? It was 68 on Sunday in Houston, which is, the best round he's had in quite some time. But Rory's come into Masters in better form than he is this year. And it almost seems like it seemed a little gimmicky this year. Last player to register comes into the media center and says, why should I treat this different than any other tournament? Like, I don't know if he's ever going to be able to get over that hump. The thing is, like, he's not coming in super
Yeah,
well.
and that's fair because honestly, I think Rory and Spieth this week are in similar boats. I think Rory's got a lot more pressure on him for sure. And I think both of them are in a very similar mental boat. I think throughout the year they've both had stretches of such poor play, but also stretches of such brilliance. That's like what are these guys doing? Like if you had told me in 2017 in August that in 2024 we'd be discussing Jordan Spieth and Rory McIlroy still with 7 combined majors, that would be ridiculous. So I think Rory and Spieth together are such interesting components to this Masters because I feel like as much as both of them could win, I think Rory's got a significantly better chance to win than Spieth this week from a numbers perspective. Obviously, you have to take into the fact that Rory's got what he's dealing with in terms of the pressure. But I really do think that these two guys, like, they're fighting a bigger battle than everyone else.
I mean, yeah, it's the
And I'm always gonna love Jordan at the Masters because of the same reason that I think Hideki is
Yeah,
so valued
absolutely.
this week. If Hideki hadn't won a Masters and simply just had the win in a signature event this season, I think he'd still be, middle of the pack. The reason why Hideki is so attractive is because he's a previous champion. And I've always believed, especially about Jordan Spieth, he can come to Augusta in absolutely any form. He could be playing the best golf, he could be playing the worst golf. I always love Jordan Spieth at Augusta because he always plays well, and that's part of being a prior champion, right? Talk about Phil Mickelson last year, right? Another one of those past champions, 2 green jackets. Puts up a great number on Sunday and ends up runner-up simply because I think he's played there
Yeah.
so many times, and just the guys who get it get it. Jordan Spieth gets it. Rory McIlroy, on the other hand, just doesn't. Hideki gets it, and that's why I think he's so valuable.
Good point.
So I think really quickly it's a great point, right? And Phil was playing terrible golf
Yeah,
coming into that tournament last year. But I think, to make the statement that the guys that get it is sometimes a bit, broad because all these guys
Yeah.
get it. It's just
Yeah.
they haven't gotten it
fair.
yet. Right? And that's the biggest thing with Rory always is he gets it. He's played there enough to understand every little inch of grass on that golf course, on those greens, around those greens. But he hasn't pieced it
Yeah.
together fully yet. And I'm not sure he will because I think he's fighting a mental battle, a lot like Spieth is. That's the bigger thing is it's now the mental battle. And that's what they can't get. And even though they do get it, that's what they can't get over. Because all these guys understand how to play the golf course the same. Every single person who hits it long can play it aggressive and play the easier shots. Every single person who doesn't hit it that long and isn't that good of, a ball striker off the tee knows where they have to play it in terms of not taking risk off the tee and knows where they have to put it on the green and knows how well they have to putt lag putting wise to be able to make fours and make fours on par fives. They all know how to do that, but it's the mental side for the big boys that I think Rory, who's second in the world, third in data golf, is well off the pace at times and hasn't won outside of Dubai, it feels like, in a big time event forever. And that's the biggest thing is like, can you mentally get yourself in position when you look up at a leaderboard on Sunday in Augusta, Georgia, and Scotty Scheffler's up there, and John Rahm, who we understand is much like Scotty, probably the only 2 genuine killers out there right now. Rahm on a leaderboard, you're scared. Scotty on a leaderboard, you're scared. We saw that at the Players, right? Scotty was on the board, and everybody kind of subtly called, and Scotty just took a leap, right? That's the mental challenge they're facing. That's what
Xander got scared. Yeah. Xander got scared.
Correct.
And that's why I don't believe in Xander Schauffele this week. I really don't. And it's hard to believe in Xander Schauffele in major championships or big events because he really has not shown
Which
the
sucks
ability.
because he's playing so well. And he plays this course
he
so
is.
well. It
He
feels
really
like
is.
it's meant to be, but I can't get behind it. But that's also the thing that I just love about Augusta National in general. And it's what makes Augusta National such a champions golf course. Augusta National requires the correct shot to be played well. It's not about hitting the best shots. And that's what makes Scotty, I think Scotty has a bigger advantage here than any course on tour. It's like the players. You have to hit the required shot. You have to play the par fives well and not make big mistakes. How did Tiger win on the back nine in 2019? He didn't make any long putts. He didn't stick anything crazy. How did he play the last stretch? He hit it in the funnel on 7, made birdie. He hit it to the right spot on 12, made par while everyone else screwed up. He 2-putted all the par fives for birdie, and he just let everyone else fall apart. That is how you win at Augusta. You have to play the par fives well and hit the required shots when they need to be. There's no need on Thursday from the fairway, no matter what number you have in, to take on a pin on 11, ever. And that's what makes Scotty Scheffler so advantageous here, is that he knew what was behind him at the Players, and he still played it safe on 18 and took his 25-footer and ended up winning him the golf tournament.
And to that point, though, like, it's not the same as Sawgrass, though.
No.
Because Sawgrass is, it's about, no, and I know you weren't saying that. It's about, like, it's about minimizing damage, where Sawgrass is about, picking your spots to
Correct.
take risks and not picking that. Now, obviously, you still have to take him at Augusta National, but it is simply about find the right spot to put it in the fairway, find the right spot to put it on the green, and that's why it's so hard for guys who haven't played well to play well here, because when you find the spot, it's so easy to find it again, and when you haven't found it before, it's so difficult to go at it. And it's why guys like Tiger can win in 97, go through a bunch of surgeries, come back, get a little bit of juice in 18, and then go win in 19. Because they know every little spot that's there. And to me, that's why even you look further down the list of guys who aren't, up the odds favorites and aren't in the Data Golf top 25 or something like that. It's why a guy like DJ is attractive to me.
Absolutely.
He's not playing great golf, but he's playing good enough to where I'm still confident that if he can make a couple of putts on a Friday and really get some mojo going with the flat stick there, that's a guy who knows where every spot is on this golf course.
Dustin Johnson, the fact that Dustin Johnson has worse odds than Oberg blows my mind. I feel like
that's a big bias.
And I understand Oberg is a great golfer, but like DJ is a guy who could win this week. Like, I truly believe the Masters is so. At the end of the day, Brooks Koepka alluded to this. At the start of the week, there's 10 to 12 guys who can win this golf tournament. It's the most select few amount of people who can win on Sunday, like any other tournament, because you have to know how to play the course. DJ knows how to play the course. I couldn't be more confident in Oberg not winning this week. I just don't see him go. Like, this is his second time, and the last time he played as an amateur, right? He played last year as an amateur. Yeah?
I believe this is.
I don't even know if he did, but if he did, he was an amateur.
I don't know.
He was not the amateur.
No, I'm not saying he was.
So
I just didn't know if he played last year. If he played last year, it was as an amateur, right?
I don't believe he did. This is probably his first time in a competitive. Without a doubt.
That speaks to my point even more. I just don't see someone like I see someone like Batia going out and playing very well this week, but there's just such an extra level needed to win at this golf course.
But Batia, I think, is more favored in that way because of his left-handedness and because he's playing so hot, and again because he's a little bit more perceived as an underdog. Oberg, you could say, is not going to play well because again he's seen as his favorite. The other point to Augusta is this. Post-Tiger 97, Augusta kind of became this place, and really even pre-Tiger 97, because Jack won here, I think, at 22. right? Augusta is a place where if you are good, it doesn't take you a long time to figure it out. Like, Oberg, if he is what we think he is, should play well this week, and it wouldn't stun me, but I don't know if that's necessarily the point of the
Yeah, I
discussion.
just don't
It's
think he
more
has the
so,
short game to win here right now.
and that's fair. And I think he's kind of like Victor, where it's
Yeah,
like he's got to figure out a lot of stuff. But we'll get there when we get there with him. He's got such a great
for
potential
sure.
in this game. I think there's a lot of other guys who are higher up on my list this week, Ben.
Oh, and you mentioned Victor. That's another guy. I just, with what he has going on with his golf game right now, it's just not going to happen. And to say, after having an unbelievable last season, after saying this isn't sustainable, so I'm going to change swing coaches and rework it because being this good isn't sustainable, and to come in the way he's coming in, I mean, I understand it, right? He wants to have a very long and successful career, but to do that over the offseason
Mind-boggling.
is crazy to me.
It
It's
is.
crazy to me. I don't know why anyone would do that after having the season he did. But to get back to what Ryan was saying about almost like a younger player, right? And we've been talking about this through the week. I love someone who almost comes into Augusta blind, right? I love an Akshay this week. I love the amateurs every week, and partially because of what we saw with Sam Bennett last year. And I don't think that was just a Sam Bennett thing. I think there's a type of player that's like Sam Bennett. I think Nick Dunlap is like that player. I think Neil Shipley, who will never contend at the NCAA National Championship, who might never play a PGA Tour event, is just a guy that might go randomly play well one week at Augusta. Because for these amateurs and some of these younger players, they don't know any better.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
Sometimes they just get dumb lucky.
I don't disagree. I think there's a fine line between some of
yeah.
that, right? Like, I certainly think there's a point to someone like an Akshay who's been fantastic, or even someone, even further down, I would even chart someone like Danny McCarthy, who is not a younger guy, knows what he's doing, knows how to putt with the best of them, and if he can put together a little bit of ball striking, there's someone who can show up. I think with the AMs, I really am excited to watch Crystal Lamprecht. That's kind of the only one that immediately jumps out to me, but you do have a point. You're right about it's not just a Sam Bennett thing. It is certainly about there's a certain type of swagger and unafraidness.
Yeah.
This is going to be a crazy term to throw out, but it's going to resonate in terms of the feature. A tigerness of like, I'm going to walk in and just know that no matter what they say about me or tell me I've got to wait my turn, I don't want to wait my turn. And that doesn't necessarily always equate to immediate success, right? Or it does equate to immediate success but doesn't long term. Like you look at a guy like Jordan, did not care when he walked in those doors, was so phenomenal, should have back to back. And from that point on, it's been a struggle to recuperate and refine that swagger, right? But you can go either way. Like there's a guy like Hideki who, doesn't necessarily carry that swagger. It's that quiet respect and confidence, right? Or even someone like Rom who has a little bit of both, right? Xander has not played well here recently or has not played with a lot of swagger in majors, but in 19, he was in the hunt because he had an unabashed swagger to him, and that's what Augusta demands. It demands cautious selection of where you're swinging and aggressive swings to those careful spots that only a dude who's got pure confidence in not just his game, but his game plan demands. You've got to have a great game plan to play here, and you've got to have a great game to win here.
Yeah.
And on the extreme other end of that, because you were talking about, guys that they all understand it, right? And that's why you see older players, they have the ability to win at Augusta. Late 30s, early 40s,
Jack.
Those guys have an ability to win at Augusta, and that's why players, Justin Rose, Jason Day, that's why players like that, you're never surprised if they play well, and if for some reason they find themselves in the top 20 going into moving day, because it really is, as Ryan talked about a few moments ago, if those guys can just hole putts, they've seen the golf course so many times, and it's not so demanding to where it favors a younger type of player. That's why older players are able to win later in their career at Augusta. On the extreme other end.
A name in that ilk, before we kind of continue to roll along here, 44-year-old Lucas Glover. if he can make a couple putts with the way he can swing and
Yeah.
hit shots from tee to green, he's one of the more accurate drivers. He's one of the more accurate approach players with his mid irons, according to Data Golf. Around the green, he's middle of the pack, top 50 type player. If he hits a couple of 10 footers, makes a couple of
Yeah.
8 to 15 footers, there's a guy who's played here before and won majors and won big events last year down the stretch of the FedEx when he got hot. There's a guy who you could see, in that top 20. That was one of the weirdest things ever. Just back to back.
That was so crazy.
But I like, you're looking at those guys, and that's also, again, you could talk forever. Augusta is fantastic because you can be young and have the swagger and be unafraid, or you could be old and just know what the hell you're doing, and you can win, or at the very least, T10, T15 at a
Yeah.
major championship just by, being the right mixture, and there's multiple different mixtures that it can allow you to win here. And it's
There
honestly
really
quite
is
impressive.
so many different ways you can top 15, top 10 at Augusta. You can do it in a Spieth fashion, like you did last year. Not even playing that well, but just like going in and kind of just plodding his way and then shooting 66 on Sunday. Or you can just know the golf course well enough to finish 6, 7, 8 shots behind the lead and be content with that. And that's what makes winning that much harder. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Is there's such a difference between top 15 and winning. You have to do so much more. Which is why this golf course is an incredible, incredible test. It's a fantastic viewing experience, and that's why, as you said, my guy this week in that category is Justin Rose. I think Justin Rose is a guy. I believe if there was a stat on Data Golf that had soccer has XG, if they had like expected tournaments won or expected majors, I think he'd have over one green jacket. I think
Yeah.
he has given himself so many chances here between 2015 and 2017. Like, those are tournaments he could have won on the right week. And he plays this course well, and I think that he's a guy who could be in the picture on Sunday and make a few putts. Who knows?
Yeah, I like that. I think we'll move quickly through this one, and I don't think Russell Henley is any bit of a surprise anymore when you throw
Yeah.
him out. How about the quietest top 20 official world golf ranking and quietest top 10 data golf and, metric ranking guy out there? It just doesn't make a lot of sense that he's up there, but because he's so consistent,
is.
he survives there. My surprise is Denny, right? Played well last week, putting the ball better than he really ever has, and that's saying a lot because he's probably a top 2 putter with him and JT Poston on tour, and he's striking the ball better. He's up 23 in data golf, up 21 in the OWGR. He just came off defeat, which is sometimes a little bit more motivating than a win can be for a guy like Akshay, who's going to be a popular pick with his left-handedness in that surprise group. I like a guy like Denny to maybe finish, I won't say win, but I could see him top 15.
It's fair.
Let's talk a little bit about the golf course. We've talked a lot about the players. Obviously, as we've talked about, the course that they see every year, and when they make changes, the players love to talk about it. Really only one big one this year, moving the tee box as far into the left on number 2 as they can. Thinking that's probably going to favor some left-handed guys. Rory was out there a couple days last week, said might not be as big of a deal as we're making it out to be. But what do you guys think of number 2?
I like the decisions. I like the decision because I think there's a lot more, and I think it's a change that came, with the mindset of there's a lot more guys who cut in the game now. Like, it's not just the faders. It's not just, the drawers. We've got guys like Wyndham Clark who love their little high cut that just drifts and drifts and drifts. That's out of play now. You almost have to draw the ball or hit a perfectly straight Ludwig Oberg drive off that tee to put it in relatively good play. So I like it. I think it's minimal. I think Rory's right. It's not as massive of a change, but come Sunday, if you're a righty and you're, you got a 2-shot lead, you got a 1-shot lead, you're down by 2 shots, and it's very crucial to start because you want to stay in contention or stay in the lead, there's a lot of pressure on that tee shot to draw it or to put it in the right spot, which is what Augusta does. It puts pressure on you by putting you in uncomfortable positions, forcing you to be comfortable, forcing you to pick a cautious and careful spot and take an aggressive swing to that. So I like the decision, but that's really the only big one. So I think it's minimal this year. I think they liked how tough the golf course played last year at times, and I think it's a ho-hum change that could cause some problems for a couple guys. Again, namely, the first one that comes to mind is Chief of Bomb and Gouge Club, Wyndham Clark, right? Like, that'll be just difficult at times, I think, for him to mentally grasp that and try and swing.
Yeah, and I don't know what your guys' opinions are, but I love the golf course playing hard. Like, as hard as possibly can be, to the point where I think the players are gifted so many perfectly conditioned golf courses throughout the year that I'm even fine if players are complaining. Like, I really, like, at major championships, I'm completely fine. I mean, we play golf. When we go out to a Kenny Mac, those bunkers are awful. And these guys are getting perfectly blissful bunkers every week. If they want to complain about the golf courses, that means that whoever set up the golf course did a good job, in my opinion, at the major championships. Yeah. So I love to see they make this golf course as hard as can possibly be. It does kind of stink with how that one storm's going to come in, and it's going to really change what Brooks Koepka is saying is the firmest he's seen it play since 2016. So yeah, I don't know what your guys' opinions are, but I love that that they're making that tee shot much harder.
Yeah, I like the firmer golf course, especially for majors, for the sole reason that I think it plays shorter. Like, it levels the playing field a little bit more, because if it's a softer golf course, the dudes who carry it 300 are going to drive it 310, and the dudes who carry it 275 are going to drive it 280. Right? When it's a little bit firmer, yeah, the dudes who drive the golf ball far are going to carry it 300 and probably drive it 340, 330, but the dudes who carry it 280 are going to drive it 315, right? And it makes it more of a short iron course and more of a technical course where dudes who are good at approach and dudes who can, have a good short game and putting game are more likely to compete. So, when it's firmer, it is much, much tighter of a field from the perspective of guys who you wouldn't think can hit it and compete with the big hitters are kind of there a little bit more. Now, it puts more of a premium on being careful and not running through, but Augusta's always kind of played a little bit softer because it always kind of rains in that part of Georgia this time of year. We're going to get that. I hope it's not enough rain to where they have to change the tee times up, because I think right now there's a subtle concern of if the tee times and the rain comes hot enough, it's too much of a favoritism towards the late early tee time, which, you obviously don't want to weigh it too much there, but it's always something to look out. It's, of course, famously, obviously, why Patrick Reed left the PGA Tour. He was done with the tee times. He wanted to play at the same time as everybody. But I'm curious. Like, I want to see how firm they keep it, and we were talking before the show, Bobby and I, they've got the best drainage system in the world. So if they want it to play firm, it'll play firm. If they don't want it to play firm, they'll let it stay a little bit wet, and they'll let the long guys go out and carry the drives. Oh, Bobby's out. He's trying to talk.
Whoops. My mic was muted. When Augusta wants it to play a certain way, they get it to play a certain way, and that's what's so cool about it. And I do think the tee times are an interesting factor, because I actually think the late early has a bigger advantage if there is no delays. The only problem is if they have a delay, and I talked to you, Ryan, about this before the show, that becomes a big issue for Tiger. Because that brings in the possibility of Tiger having to play 36 holes in a day, which physically I just don't think he can do. Which would mean that's another withdrawal, which would stink to see, and I'm not even a Tiger fan. Like, I mean, it just wouldn't be good for the game to see Tiger have to withdraw again. So,
It would not be a great scene to see your Masters weekend not have
Yeah,
more viewership than either of the NCAA basketball
exactly.
championships, which is very possible because the women's did so
They did.
well. And if Tiger's not playing and Tiger has to WD and the appeal of this one goes out of the door,
Yeah,
it's not
because
great.
then it's on a Rory or a Spieth then to bring the numbers, and we've already talked about how we're not too keen on either of their chances quite yet. So there are only a certain number of people who can bring half the views that Tiger can, and I just don't see a Scheffler versus Schauffele duel down the stretch really bringing in the numbers.
What's interesting to me is that there's going to be a little bit of that rain in on Thursday. We'll see how much it actually is, if it's a lot, if it's a little, how soft it can actually get out there, and if it's scoreable. But on the other end of the weekend and on Sunday, it's going to be an 85-degree Masters Sunday, and I can't even think the last time it was that warm on Masters Sunday. I mean, the last few years it seems like last year was a little different because the weather the whole week, but it seems like Master Sunday the last few years has been a little dark, has been a little gray, and always when the champion comes 18, there always seems to be sunlight that peeks out, and there's always some golden pictures on the final green. But it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be hot. It's gonna be real sunny on Master Sunday, which kind of leaves it open
Yeah.
for anybody.
And I think the takeaway from that for me is, you hear people talk about it all the time up in booths and stuff and former players. It's so much easier to putt when it's a little gray out. It's so much easier to see contours when it's a little bit darker out in the sky. You can read the greens a little bit easier. So it's a little bit hotter. We know it's not hot. Like, these guys don't like to play in heat typically. Their perfect temperature is 75. So 85 is a little hot, for a guy from Northern Ireland maybe, or a guy like Shane Lowry. But it's going to be difficult to putt because you can't see the contours of the greens and the grains a little bit as much through the sunlight if it is that sunny on Sunday. So you might see some guys, struggle with some lag putting. You might see some guys misread from time to time. Now they're pros, so it won't be every time, but it'll be a little bit different, and it might favor the dude who, again, we talk about it at Augusta National all the time. If you can be great tee to green, or you can be phenomenal, or really be phenomenal with your lag putting when you've got these 50, 60 footers that they kind of force you to have every 3 or 4 holes, it feels
Yeah.
like, you're winning, right? If you can two putt from 50 feet and you can, make your birdies when you're supposed to, you're going to shoot 14 under and put on a green jacket at the end. And it's harder to do that when the sun is shining under the pressure of Sunday.
All right, let's get into our final picks for the week. I want to hear you guys' first outright winner. Me, it's Scotty Scheffler. No doubt.
Yeah. Um. Well, I have, in a sense, two. My pick to win is Scotty Scheffler. It gun to my head, I'd put my life on Scotty Scheffler winning over anyone in the last 10 years. I think he's got a better chance to win this tournament than anyone has had a chance to win the Masters since Tiger. But in terms of value, I mean, you're looking at, like, no one wants to, there's no fun in placing a plus 300 winner. I think Hideki is a great bet. I think Hideki is the best value on the board by a long shot. I think Hideki is, Data Golf gives him the fifth best chance. I think he's being a little snubbed. He's not in that 14-1 range. He's into the 20s. I think that even though my pick to win is Scotty, I feel like it's kind of boring. So in a sense, I have two there, but I just see so many scenarios of Scotty winning, and only one for everyone else. I see one scenario of this guy winning, one scenario of this, and I just see so many different ways Scotty Scheffler could win this golf tournament.
Yeah, I've got Scotty too. What really concerns me with everybody else there, and everybody else is a broad term because there's a lot of concerns with everybody, but it's not like major stuff. I don't know if Rory's got the chance. I think he'll be there this year, more than I did last year and the year before. I'm curious to see how Rahm, comes out of the
Yeah.
gates, so to say. If he starts well on Thursday and he shoots, a 68 and then follows it up with like a 69 on a Friday, I would very much like to see him and Scheffler kind of duel because we haven't really fully seen that, where it's just those two guys kind of running alone. But think Hank Stenson, Phil Mickelson style in the Open way back when. Um, Digging deeper, Matsuyama's a good one. I struggle to really see anybody outside that top 10. I want to see Joaquin Niemann drive the ball well. If he
Yeah.
puts the ball into the fairway, he's going to finish in a top 5, top 10 position, and he will be in a position of contention within 3 or 4 shots starting his Sunday round. But if you pick anybody other than Scotty, you're just trying a little too hard.
That's what I'm
like
saying.
it's
Yeah.
stupid to not pick Scotty. It's stupid to not pick him. But again, I think it's closer than I think you guys think it is. I think there's 5 or 6, 7, 8 guys that I could see putting on a green jacket, and I just think Scotty has the best chance to because there's, Doctor Strange. There's 14,000 chances. I think Scotty wins about 7,000, 8,000 of them. That's better than 50%.
Let's talk about maybe some sleepers as well. I got a guy who's playing really, really well. Peter Green, the playing hasn't necessarily been there this season. Hasn't missed a cut. Is playing just consistently consistent. I really like Corey Connors kind of coming off the side. It's a name that not a lot of people have talked about coming in the week, but Corey Connors has really just been playing solid.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. I think his ball striking is among the 10, 15 best in the world. I think Bobby and I might be on the same page here with this one. I'm going Brian Harmon.
Oh my God, we are. That's crazy.
I think you think lefties. I heard Bobby bring
Oh,
up
did
Brian
I?
before.
Okay.
We brought up not on the pod before we got on, and I was just kind of like
Yeah.
already
Yeah,
there.
okay.
Lefty, accurate, good iron player, wonderful short
Firm
game.
course.
Putter is fantastic. Firm golf course if it plays that way. It's much more. It's nowhere near an Open Championship, but it's as close of a Masters as you're going to get to it if the course stays firm. You've got that kind of guy that fits the shape of this golf course in that fashion. And then beyond him, just to, because I think Bobby will want to talk a little bit more about him. When's Tony Finau going to get back on, the first page of a major leaderboard?
I don't buy it. I don't buy it for the same reason. That I think what happened in 2019, just what happened with Francesco Molari's career. His career ended on the 12th hole at Augusta Sunday in 2019. I just have this feeling that Tony Finau might just always be the guy who played with Tiger. And that might be his peak on this golf course.
But
I have an interesting Tony Finau tidbit. So Tony Finau,
just insider trade.
I thought Hideki Matsuyama had the biggest toe raise with a putter I've ever seen. But Tony Finau blows out of the water, right? So if you guys have ever tried putting with the toe so raised, takes so much feel and speed control out of a putter. Now, Tony Finau is already putting horrendously. He's flushing the golf ball right now. But you look at how hard it is to putt from above the hole. I think if Tony Finau gets himself above the hole this week, I think he could 3-putt multiple times. And I think that's why he just has no chance this week. I just don't think this – I just see no way in which Augusta National is where it turns around.
I think you're 100% right. I just think this feels like more his domain than the other three do, and he's gaining 2 strokes on approach. He's gaining 1.5 around the greens. I think he's somewhere in like the 1.7 range, tee to green, which would be in the top 20 in the world, and he's losing about half a stroke putting, and you have to putt.
He's hitting it well, yeah.
You have to. But he's maybe a top 10 ball striker in the world right now, and that to me, for the value that you can get him at, I think is not a bad choice of a guy who you could see, on a Saturday pop back up and hopefully stick around if his putter can cooperate.
Yeah, I think just one more thing on Brian Harmon
Totally fair.
before we
Totally fair.
before we wrap this up. Brian Harmon is, again, no matter how even if it rains, it'll still play firm to an extent. Augusta always does. Brian Harmon is he's so sticky. He's always there. He never goes away. You saw it the Players. He never goes away. It just gets to a point where he makes a few putts, and he's never going to make big mistakes that takes him out of golf tournaments. He's mathematically eliminated at half the courses he plays because of his distance. And this is not one of those golf courses, even though it's long. It plays firm enough where he can compete at this golf course. I don't even know his course history. Of all the research I did today, I didn't really look at his history here. But watch out for Brian Harmon this week. I think he'll be in the conversation at the very least. I think he top tens and gives himself a chance on Sunday.
It seems like Ryan is pushing a hard lefty narrative this week. I want to pose a question before we wrap up. Do you guys know who the best shots gained putting player is coming into the Masters that is in the field?
Among left-handers or just in the field in general?
So who is the best, basically the best putter on the PGA Tour coming in this event?
This season? I was going to say, in recent, and if you're giving a greater sample size, it's going to be Denny. But I don't know about this season. It could be Harmon.
I mean,
it's not. Denny's up there. Denny's a top 10 putter, shots gained putting. The hottest putter coming in this event.
JT Post.
With .819 shots gained putting, it's Peter Malnati. He's fourth on the PGA Tour. The three guys ahead of him aren't qualified for the Masters. Taylor Montgomery, Aaron Baddeley, Alexander Bjork. Peter Malnati's statistically the best putter coming into the week this season.
That was the last name I thought you were going to say. That's absurd.
Let me just say this. Guy can't hit the ball straight. Guy can't hit the ball far. But boy, when he gets over there on the greens with that yellow golf ball, he can get it up and down with the best of them, right? He is not making the cut. Can't see it. Just not making the cut. Friend of the program.
Very much friend of the program. Yeah.
Huge friend of the program.
It's not JT. Where's JT Poston in that?
Did shots gained putting?
Because he's at a rough
I'd have to look at.
By his
Let's see if I can.
I still can't believe Malnati won this year. That's insane.
Dude, it was weird.
So weird.
It will continue. I don't know. And I guess while Ben is looking for JT Poston, his placement, my biggest disappointment, I don't know if it's crazy to say that I can't think of one immediately that's going to flat out disappoint, because I don't think Rory will, and he's the easiest one to flash. And I do think Oberg has a chance, and I think we all kind of understand where Hovland is at right now. I don't want to continue to pepper Wyndham Clark, because Ben knows this very well. I might be the biggest Wyndham Clark hater on the planet.
I love Wyndham. Wyndham.
But I'll stray away from that one, and I'll go, the better half of the, if you're in the patrons this week, Duck, the better half of Jordan Spieth is Sahith Theegala. That is going to be a 7-hour round.
And it'll be amazing to watch.
I just don't think Sahith fits yet. And I think until he works on some of his struggles off of the tee and his struggles with some of the accuracy, he doesn't fit here. He's a great player, and I very much look forward to him being in contention this Sunday, having said this. But we'll see. I think he's got to get a little bit right off the tee if he wants to have success. And again, you will not need a Red Bull in the morning if you're going to watch Jordan Spieth and Sahith Theegala. They will get you up by themselves.
They might hit me with a golf ball in Arizona, to be honest. That group will be amazing. My disappointment this week is going to be Cam Young. Cam Young has been extremely tipped across Twitter. A lot of people are betting on Cam Young this week. No thanks. I've been on the Cam Young train since the start, And I promise you that guy is not doing anything this week. He just doesn't he's so good at hitting a golf ball. But his short game and putting and in big moments, it is just disastrous. And Augusta National will not be the place where he turns that around.
Again, I still can't believe how he 3-putted at the Valspar was, beyond me. It was just kind of wild. Ben, you got a biggest disappointment, or do you have a JT Poston stat for me yet?
JT Poston said he's 60th on tour in shots gained putting.
Okay, well, I guess I need, and he hadn't been doing that great.
Small sample size. Small sample.
Trevor Immelman just needs to stop. He's a great putter. That's all.
Rounds into the year.
That's all I'm hearing is Trevor Immelman needs to stop telling me every Saturday, watch this guy putt. He's the best.
The announcers know nothing. I've learned that.
Just a really athletic putt. He's got great feel, right? Before we close, I want to. This is going to be my favorite segment we're going to add to the show. I'm doing this on the fly here.
Love that.
We're going to play a little game. It's simply called "Does Justin Thomas make the cut or not?" That is all.
I was about to say he's not. No, that was my take is he's not making the cut.
That's all we're going to play. Every week we're going to say, does JT make the cut or not? Because I don't think JT makes the cut this week.
No, I don't.
I'm going yes.
No, sure.
And I'm a Justin Thomas hater, believe it or not. Fun fact. As a Spieth diehard fan.
Can a Spieth fan be a Thomas hater?
Yes. So fun fact. Fun fact. Just family runs the Memorial Tournament and the Pebble Pro-Am. I've just heard a lot of not good things that have given me a bad taste in the mouth, and so I am not a Justin Thomas fan. But I do think he makes the cut this week. I don't think he'll do anything special, but I just feel like that's too obvious. I think he needs a spark, and I just don't think he'll let himself miss the cut this week. So I'm gonna go with yes, but I like the game because I like saying that he's not gonna make the cut most weeks.
Well, my follow-up question is Bones property this week? Are you watching at home?
Bones isn't on property.
He's still employed by NBC, I think. He might be working it.
Yeah, he could.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah,
Where's Jim
right.
Bones?
Maybe who knows? Maybe it'll be Mickelson. It's the stars might align.
All I'm hearing from this, my biggest takeaway from this pod is that, poor Nick Saban, his good buddy, is, I guess, not the guy that Bobby Blute would like him to be. It is what it is.
Hate to see it.
You hate to see that. That's going to wrap up our Masters preview. The first of, hopefully, many golf episodes here for the three of us, presented by Blaze Radio. Ryan Sykora, Bobby Blute. I'm Ben Parris. Enjoy the golf. We're excited. We'll break it all down after the tournament, and enjoy the Masters weekend and the beautiful sights and sounds out at Augusta.
Denny McCarthy.